Peace to the gods. Well, Guan, you already know what the fuck going on. My name is Carmonic. Welcome back to my channel. I'm beaming his light to all of those that can receive it and reflect it. The gods, the African people, in the Americas, in the Caribbean, in Africa, in Asia, in Europe, Oceania, all throughout this world. I'm beaming this light to those that can receive it and reflect it. You done know, my name is Carmonic. Welcome back to my channel. You all can see I'm getting more comfortable with this camera shit, this YouTube shit, because I ain't gonna cap. YouTube is really a new thing for me. So I'm still, seeing how to create content for you guys and just create beautiful moments with you all. So you already know. Today, we're going to get into a story time of how I became an African warrior, a self-educated African warrior with the help of our ancestors. Now, growing up as a little picnic, as a youth, I remember my mother. She would take us to churches, and I would look around all of these black people. I see them praising, they speaking the message of God. They talking about Jesus. I would see white Jesus, and I would see everybody referring to the Bible and getting wisdom from the Bible to help guide their life. I would see people catching the Holy Spirit, dancing, eyes going back in the back of their head, and just rejoicing because of God. I will also go to Sunday school, and in the Sunday school there was movies and there was just classes about Christianity, classes about God, classes about Jesus. And I remember watching this one movie, seeing this white Jesus, and I was just looking like, Ever since me was a youth, me always questioned reality. Me always questioned everything. There's always been this ancient silence in me, contemplating why everything is the way it is. And I will always have questions about God. I will always have questions about the devil. Why is God up there in the sky? Why can't I see God? Why can't I talk to God? And then people will talk about the devil. I would say, why can't I see the devil? Why is everything referred to as bad as the devil? Why is everything referred to as purity, light? And why is everything referred to as evil, dark? Me always questioned this since me was a youth, And growing up as well, I remember being around my family, right? I grew up around nothing but black people. My family, they were beautiful, I remember around the house, like for instance, I live with my mother, and it would be all of these pictures of African power, African resilience, African strength. And I would see these growing up and would just look at them as a child. And as a youth, it's so important psychologically what we feed our children, because this can impact how they see themselves in the future. And I would just look at these images and just contemplate, And then I remember my grandparents' house. My grandparents, my grandpa, he had many things about Africanness and blackness in the house. And so I would see this picture of black Jesus and the 12 disciples and them having, a dinner. And I would always just look at that picture like, this is interesting. This is interesting. So my grandfather was in the Nation of Islam. And with my grandfather being in the Nation of Islam, he would take me to the mosque. And at this time I was 15. And so he would take me to the mosque. I would listen to what the brothers would have to say, the message of the days. I would see the brothers, I would see the sisters dressing in an elegant way, the brothers all in a suit and tie. And my grandfather, he would, teach me certain information about the Nation of Islam and just certain information growing up as a youth. And I really took into that, And eventually I was going to become part of the Nation of Islam. But Spirit had another multi-dimensional reality laid out for me to experience and witness the absolute truth about us as a people. Now, when me was 19, 20, I had a white friend. Now, once upon a time ago, Carmonic was a one love ass nigga. Carmonic was a love see no color ass nigga. Carmonic was a, oh, I welcome in everybody ass nigga. Now fuck that shit. Me not like that no more. But I remember I was in Houston, Texas, and we went to, it was Austin to shoot the movie, me and this white friend. And it was like a cabin situation. It was like nature. It was a lot of nature around. It was beautiful, no lie. And this is where we would shoot the movie. This would be the set for the movie. And I remember meeting the cast members and whatnot, and they were all white. Now, being around all of these white people, this was my first time being around white people like this in my entire life. Me never experienced this before. So I remember shooting the movie. I was a slave at first to this white man. He was my master. And I had to say, yes, master. I understand, master. He was telling me like the certain things that he wanted me to do to kill the other people, which were in the script, my brothers and my sisters, right? And so I remember doing this part and role, and I'm under a control by this white man. Now, back then, I didn't really think too much about it. And fast forward, I'm just on set and I'm just around all of these white people. I find myself smiling most of the time, forcing a smile. Yeah. Oh my God. Yeah. Ass nigga. And I was like, what am I smiling so much for? Like this, I felt this deep uncomfortability in this presence. It was so eerie being around all these white people. I said, what the fuck? What is this? And so next thing you know, after shooting this film, I get back to where I stay, home. And I remember I'll go to YouTube. I'm sitting down just watching YouTube one day, and all of these African scholars pop up out of nowhere. And I say, who are these people? African scholars like Dr. Francis Cress Wilson, Shahrazad Ali, Khalid Muhammad, Ivor Van Sertima, John Henry Clark, Dr. Yosef Ben, and many more other scholars. And I look at all of these scholars, all of these sheroes and heroes, these African warriors and many more, and all of the information they're sharing. And I'm like, oh, is this what I'm feeling? I said, damn, I'm a slave. That's when I realized that I was a slave. Psychologically, mentally, emotionally, spiritually. I had a white mind. I had a white spirit. I had these white ideologies in my being that I needed to purge myself from. And that's when I made the decision. And that's when I said to myself, okay, I need to initiate a deep deprogramming from slavery instantly. Now, with me deepening my knowledge of us as African people, our ancient stories, and the current situation that we are facing and what we have been facing since goddamn centuries ago and millennium, I came to the understanding that, damn, this white man is the motherfucking devil. This devil has waged war on us. Vicious attacks, spiritually, mentally, emotionally, psychologically, genetically, and physically, to destroy us so that we cannot thrive and so that we cannot live in harmony and come into our true godhood as African people on this earth. I said, God damn, that shit is wicked, Noras. And then that's when I realized, okay, the ancestors brought to me who God was and showed me that God is us as African people. God is an African person on this earth, in the flesh, embodied. Then that's when I realized that I see. That's why the deeper you go into the past, the darker it becomes, the more African it becomes. Everything in relation to us as African people has been demonized and has been buried because that's where the true story lies. Then that's when I said, okay, that's why they want to be like us. They want to be like God, but they can't. That's why they're creating so many things. They're trying to create the civilizations. They're trying to create the technology. They're trying to create everything and replicate everything that we African people already established. But all they did was just steal it and make an evil version of it. Now, as I started to look into racism, white supremacy, Babylon more, I started to see, okay, how is this still affecting me psychologically, just like slavery? And I said, oh, I realized that I had a lot of self-hate in myself as an African man. I hated my natural skin. I hated my natural hair. I hated my natural features. I hated my eyes. I hated my nose. I hated my lips. Everything that made me African, I did not like it as a youth. I put relaxers in my hair to make my hair curlier. I remember one day, it was in summer camp. I was in Miami. In Miami, it get hot, brother. It get hot. And so I got dark, very dark. And I remember looking into the mirror. I tried to wipe my skin off to make it lighter again. I had this disdain towards being blacker. I said, now as I grew up, I said, why did I have that much hate for something so pure, for something so black? That's when I realized that, oh, this is racism. This is white supremacy. To make me feel inferior as an African man, producing an inferiority complex within myself to make me hate myself. With me making me hate myself, then I hate my other people. I hate my race. Therefore, I try to destroy my race. And with me trying to destroy my race, now these white people won't even have to do the work for themselves because there's a system, there is a mapped out system laid out, working day in and day out to destroy African people so that we can self-destruct. And if we don't study this system, we will become victims of this system and wonder why our life is the way that it is. That's when I said, oh shit. Because back then I used to have this hate towards certain people, like my family. And I realized that white supremacy, Babylon, racism, it intentionally attacks the family system. It attacks the black man specifically and the black woman. It attacks the heads of the household to rip them apart from each other, to produce a weak child, and that weak child will later grow up to hate their parents in a situation, having all of this animosity towards the parents. And now this child will grow up emotionally immature, emotionally weak. This child will grow up not having a solid sense of identity, not having a solid sense of self, not knowing who they are, not knowing where to go, not knowing where they come from. Growing up in a world with all of this evil, they succumb to this evil and take on certain wicked ways from this devil, thinking that, oh, I am the way I am because this is the way I was born. Shut the fuck up. None of us were born the way we think we are. We are born the way we are because of what we have took on in this world, and it is not African. That's when I realized that, oh, the family has been under attack too. And that's when I start to heal my relationship with my family. That's when I start to heal my relationship with my extended family, with my friends, closest friends, and realize that we have so much anger and hate with one another. That's not us. That's Babylon. And if we don't realize this, This can cause us to kill one another, and this can cause us to have battles with one another, and tribe wars and all this bullshit that does not have nothing to do with us. This is a attack on us to get us to not be in harmony so that we won't be in unity as one family, African family, as one nation on this earth. After deep deprogramming myself, fighting to return back to my African self, I met our ancestors. I met my cosmic self. And my whole being was flooded. It was engulfed with ancient wisdom that gave me information. It unlocked my DNA. I saw how we used to live. I saw how we used to dress. I saw how we used to talk. I saw how we used to be before something wicked happened to us. That's when I reunified with our ancestors, sealing our connection in this lifetime for the rest of eternity going forward. Because when we lose our connection to our ancestors as African people, we die. Our connection is severed, and we wonder why life is not going the way that we want it to go. We wonder why we have so much just pain, because we have abandoned our ancestors and our ancient ways. When we reunify with our ancestors for real, we don't understand as African people how many ancestors that we have. Bigger than the oceans, bigger than this earth that stretches back since eternity, bigger than this universe. When you look at me right now, you're not just looking at Carmonic. You're looking at countless ancestors that made its way to be who I am right now. I am our ancestors, and our ancestors are us in this present moment in time. When you see me, you see ancient people that has lived for longer than the creation of this earth, that has lived longer than time itself, longer than space itself, longer than existence itself. Now, to bring everything together, how I became an African warrior of truth was by deeply and consistently studying the stories of our ancient past, and just studying the reality of this world we live in, and the reason why certain things are the way that it is right now. Because it's no coincidence that things just are. Everything has a root. And in order to understand that root, you must go into the past and look at it. Now that's why I have dedicated my life to uncovering our ancient stories as African people, to preserve our memories. Because we cannot let our ancestors' memories die, because they have laid out a African print for us to use to help us in times that we need it. And so this is why I will travel the earth, documenting my experience as an African man, recovering memory. My journey is about recovering African memory since the ancient past. I'm going to recover our ancient songs, our ancient languages, our ancient dances, our ancient ways of dressing, our ancient ways of cooking, our ancient ways of talking, our ancient ways of creating. I'm going to recover our ancient memory of our culture as African people. Because as African people, we are the root. We are the seed of creation. And in us, we have the power to activate that dormant memory, to release this fields, these multidimensional fields, these spectrums of light in our body, in our mind, in our spirit, to help alchemize our memory and fetch back our memory so that we can live a better life. Because our life is not just for us. Our life is for the future generations to come. What legacy will you live for your future generations to come? What stories will they recall in this present moment in time? How will they say your name in order for you to be summoned as an ancestor when they need you in moments of hope? All of this matters, how you live right now, what you say, what you do is going to deeply affect and cause a ripple effect in the distant future. This is why it's important that we get our shit together and have places of memory for the future generations to come. Have libraries, have museums that's strong so that thousands upon thousands of years, when our ascendants look at statues of us, look at pictures of us, look at writings of us, look at the films that we create, look at everything that we do now, they can be encouraged, they can be inspired to create something new. Because every generation that we live in, our job is to create something bigger, better, and more new. To keep getting better. That's our job as African people, to keep expanding, to keep getting better. This is why it is imperative for us to go back to our ancient past so that we can know who we are right now, so that we can beam forward into the distant future, having a solid sense of identity and knowing of who we are as African people. We cannot let our ancestors' work since eternity go in vain. I refuse to allow that to go in vain. My name is Karmonic. I call myself a rememberer. I am an ancient African ancestral warrior. African people, we are God. We are the reason this earth is moving. We are the reason the celestial bodies are in place. African people are the reason why creation itself exists. Now it's just time to tap back into that ancient power that we have and not be afraid of it and not let racism, white supremacy, Babylon stunt your growth and stunt you activating your dormant DNA. Because when you have knowledge of self, when you have knowledge of who you truly are and your ancestors, you will not be defeated. And anything that tries to conquer you and tries to defeat you will die. That's my story of how I became an African warrior. That's how the ancestors merged with me permanently again. Peace to the gods. I'm beaming this light to all of those that can receive it and reflect it. My African people all there throughout the world. Big up yourself. I have so much love for my people. And if you like this video, give it a like, give it a comment, subscribe, share it with all of our family throughout the continent, throughout the world as African people, because we got some traveling to do and we gonna get there. You feel me? So you don't know. Big up yourself. I'll catch y'all in the next video.